Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of MTG Study Hall here at TCG University. I am your host, one of the hosts, Brett, and right now, so this week JC is out of town, so we have a couple guest hosts in. So we're gonna just really quick get to introductions, but before we do that, we're gonna get done with the bookkeeping. Dave, you want to take care of that for us?
Yeah, absolutely. You guys can support the show by checking us out on Facebook at facebook.com TCG University, or subscribing on YouTube at youtube.com TCG University, or enrolling in our Patreon at patreon.com at TCG University. Like all these fine individuals: Andrew Dang, E.R. Melkor, Clay Cardwell, Jay Rogers, Jarrett Hubbard, Jerome Weeks Jr., Justin Farst, Tyler Zane Peace, and William Stool. And if I butchered any of your names, please make sure to mention that in the comments and berate me for it.
Yes, please do. We're a big fan of berating.
There's got to at least have been one that I messed up.
Oh, I'm sure you did.
I mean, I'd say it, but then I would butcher it yet again, driving the point home further.
Run through them all again, just in case.
I think it's everyone's favorite part of the show. So, I mean,
just watching me struggle in my battle with literacy.
We had to do it with pictures too, which was hard for Dave. So, anyway, like, subscribe, hit the bell. I think you're supposed to hit the bell now. There's like two separate, like there's subscribe and the bell.
Yeah, it's just like at Arby's where you just ring the bell as you're leaving after you're done watching the video. So make sure to do that, guys.
Yeah, and if you give $1 to the Patreon, then you get to go into the Discord, which is the best Discord that anyone's ever been into. And
it's pretty sweet Discord.
It's a fact. It's a fact. I know that because I've been in it a lot for sure, and I'm not lying to these people because you can't lie on the internet. Anyway, I said earlier, I'm Brett, and really quick, we are joined today by
Dave, as always,
and
Lily,
as well as
Eric.
So we're gonna get into before we get into our topics, we're gonna do our what we've done outside of Magic and in Magic this past week, and Lily and Eric are gonna let you guys know a little bit more about them. So Lily, you want to open up?
Yeah, all right. Well, been playing Magic for, oh, good God, 16 years at this point?
You were playing
Coming out with Block is where I started. There we go. But I kind of the go-to rules person among our group, have advised on a number of these, actually. Yeah. And just sort of commander player mostly. Brawl is all right now, so I play that.
And if you saw me last week, anytime we try to remember a card, kind of like look into the far distance, that was looking at Lily to see if she gave us the thumbs up, because I can't remember card names to save my life. So what have you been doing this week in and out of Magic?
I have been playing My Time at Portia, which is a Harvest Moon kind of game that came out earlier this year. I've been playing it since early access. It finally released. Ton of fun. I put way more, a couple 100 hours into it at this point. Not this week, obviously.
I don't even know if that's how time works.
I mean, it's that good.
Okay.
Right, but no, it's actually released earlier this year. It's one of the better games in that genre that I've played. So
very cool.
I've been kind of doing.
And in Magic the Gathering?
Oh gosh, brewing Brawl decks.
Best format.
It's a format.
Alrighty, Eric.
Hi, yeah, I'm Eric. I've been playing Magic for 18 years now. I own a game store locally, Krypton Comics, here in Omaha. I've been playing competitively, like hardcore, since about 2012. I qualified for my first Pro Tour in 2013, won Grand Prix Omaha in 2015, and lately I've been kind of focusing on more the business side of things, focusing on getting my store going. Haven't been able to travel as much, but yeah, that's how that's been going.
Single-handedly got Siege Rhino banned.
No, not Siege Rhino. No, Birthing Pod.
Birthing Pod.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Eric single-handedly got Birthing Pod banned from Modern, and when you made that joke on Facebook, someone on Reddit was like, "Oh my gosh, can you believe how stuck up this guy?" I had to go into Reddit, and I had to be like, okay, I know this guy personally. It was a joke. He doesn't actually think he single-handedly banned Birthing Pod. He just won the biggest tournament before it happened. So
yeah, no, the Birthing Pod ban was a long time coming. I was just the one who gave it its sweet farewell.
I believe the exact words you used were, "Yeah, I picked up this deck last night. It seems pretty sweet," and then just won a Grand Prix because why wouldn't you?
And dunked on a cheater in the final round.
Yes. I beat the person who I beat in the finals. Ended up getting banned for 3 years. The Pro Tour that we qualified for, he got caught cheating. He was apparently shuffling 53 cards and presenting them to his opponent and palming his starting 7 and then putting it on top of his deck as he took his deck back. He'd double sleeve his deck so they didn't notice the difference in thickness, and somebody finally pile shuffled his deck and he got caught.
You're not allowed to do that, by the way. For our newer viewers, don't blatantly cheat, please.
That's some crazy supervillain nonsense. Like
And
that's
you won those games?
I did. I won. Yeah, I beat him 2-0. Yeah.
Okay, so sorry, we're a little off track there. So what have you been doing this week?
This week, in personal life, I've been I got new snow tires on my car.
Exciting.
Because I have a rear-wheel drive car in the Midwest, and that's a terrible idea, and I'm tired of slipping and sliding around everywhere. And I've been playing way too much Minecraft. Because I know I'm like a decade behind everybody on that, but I finally downloaded it for the first time a couple weeks ago, and now I've lost entire days to it. It's a bad idea.
It happens.
Stay away. Stay far away. And then as far as Magic goes, I've been running tournaments at the store. I've been playing some of the events in on Arena, trying to get those showdown cards, and I've been brewing a handful of Pioneer decks. I haven't actually had a chance to play the format yet because I've been busy running the tournaments, unfortunately, and I don't have much in the way of a Magic Online account. But eventually, we're gonna throw down, and I'm gonna bring some of my wackiness, and we'll see how it works. Most of my decks can't beat a Scavenging Ooze, but hopefully they ban enough green cards that people will stop playing it.
Which we're gonna get to later in the show for sure. Pioneer is always there's always something to talk about every week because they keep changing things.
Yeah.
So all right, that everything, Aaron?
I think so.
Okay, Dave, what's up?
Skipping over yourself then. All right.
Save the for last.
Well, I mean, outside of Magic, I've been doing a little bit more cooking. I had to figure out how to properly cook crow since I'm currently eating it after our first topic tonight. But we'll go ahead and we'll get into that momentarily. Yeah, as far as Magic goes, playing more Pioneer, more Mono Black, seeing how this lack of Veil of Summer has been panning out. But again, that's another topic we'll be hitting later tonight. But still rocking the Gray Merchants and Whips and Groundhawks and things like that. So
Okay.
Playing the Black Cavalier.
No.
You should
I be?
strongly consider it.
I mean, I'm already playing. Oh, that's like triple black too.
Yeah.
You know. All right. So we've got a plan after we're done recording tonight. Gonna
Somebody
hop on the moto and.
Somebody played Mono Black Devotion at one of my tournaments last week, and his deck looked pretty sweet.
Is it any chance that their last name rhymes with Farrago?
No.
Oh. Johnny, if you're watching this, come on, bro.
No, they're doing other weird things with.
They're not playing Mono Black.
Yeah, something to do with Fires of Invention and the Scarab God.
Oh,
all right.
gross.
That's
Yeah. Anyway, I'm not supposed to talk about that.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not supposed to know about that.
I don't know if anyone actually watches this show, so it's probably fine.
That's not true. People have been trolling in the comments.
I
And
watched
if you're
it.
watching, please
I
like and
watched this
subscribe
show.
and troll in the comments down below.
Oh yeah, no. Apparently, I found out recently that YouTube doesn't even care if you like or dislike. They just want engagement. So like, just say terrible things, like about me specifically.
Yeah, they like having the bad comments, and then they push all the bad comments to the bottom, so you don't even have to look at them if you don't want to.
Yeah, I think I'll get in trouble if I say like or dislike the show. So just like it, but do any of the buttons.
I don't know. Tam is currently glaring at us.
Tam
I think
gave me a
that is a
look.
glare of encouragement for like or dislike. Who cares? Please engage with us. That's thumbs up. We got there.
That's a Morrow thing, right? It's better for people to feel strongly about it than not.
Yeah, no, like
you
if
go.
you hate this show and you're still watching every week,
Thank you.
That's
Share it
great.
with all your friends.
Yeah, no, we'll take it. So real quick, I been listening to a lot of Jim Sterling podcasts, which, as is tradition on the show, I bring up popular podcasts that people like because they really need that extra boost from me. So a lot of Jim Sterling podcasts; those are a lot of fun. trying to
don't know
find
either.
the time to beat Outer Worlds. Being busy, played in one of Eric's Brawl tournaments and got first place this week, which was cool. And I opened a foil Great Henge, which that didn't suck at all. So that was
Considering you've been asking me for weeks if I can find you any great henges, it seemed appropriate.
yeah, no, it was and I bought it also. I'd already bought a Great Henge that day. So I'm like I said
So now you
last
have two.
week, I have 4 total.
That seems like a lot for a brawl
A
player.
commander player can never have too many great henges.
Yes, fact. And like I said last week, if you like that card, buy it right now because it's not getting cheaper. So yeah, that's me in and out of Magic. Some Arena. I recorded some more Brawl, Wednesday Night Brawl, which we're gonna hopefully get some of that up on the channel soon. I had a really fun game with the Dragon God deck that our viewer Fern gave to me, so that was an absolute blast. And again, if anyone has Brawl decks, please send them to me. Post them in the comments. Tie them to a brick and throw it through a window at my house. Really anything. I like trying other people's Brawl decks and talking about that. So if you want your stuff talked about, send it on. So okay, that's enough about me, and I think we're ready to get rolling. So
Who's Jim Sterling?
oh, he's like a video game reviewer. The Jimquisition. He's like
I got nothing.
he's like a big deal for YouTube video game people. It's like if you don't watch YouTube things, he's probably not on your radar.
That explains.
Yeah, so he's like a big YouTube guy. So okay, we're gonna get
Let's
rolling.
Play type stuff and all that.
He started doing that. He started writing. He does reviews. He does funny podcasts where he tries to convince a friend of his who was on MTV's Road Rules to do embarrassing things to get famous again. Boston's Favorite
Okay.
Son. Give it a watch. It is hysterical. Again, yeah, Jim Sterling really needs this small Magic the Gathering podcast to boost those numbers
if
up.
we can get him to say our name
Yeah.
on his podcast, I'm just
We'll
saying.
get doxxed.
Like,
Jim, I will put on a mesh tank top and do whatever it takes if you want to mention us on one of your shows.
me too.
So that's
They
there's
speak for
that.
themselves.
Okay, we're gonna start talking. We're gonna start the show now. Okay, so Oko Championship 6. So if you watched last week, I got the joy of having my 2 co-hosts at the time tell me, no, I don't think Oko needs to be banned. Well, I got to take the I think Oko should be banned train. It was a brave statement, Dave. JC's actually not here from the shame.
Yeah.
That's why
Right.
she's not here.
She begged me to fill in.
I have a lot of crow fried rice at home that I will be eating for a while now on that 69% of the field. First off,
Nice.
nice. Second, that's massive. That's more than Affinity was at the height of Arcbound Ravager. I'm honestly not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that's going to be a lot bigger than Cobblade was back when that was a problem. Obviously, it's bigger than Delver was at the time too.
I think Cobblade, some of those tournaments had 70% ish, but
Well, if you're
Well, were
looking,
they
if you're looking, yeah, if you're looking at specifically Pro Tours, if you look back, even in the more recent years when Standard would get more homogenized more quickly, the highest numbers that you ever got to, even with like Energy and things like that, it never got higher than 40-some%. Like this eclipses the highest percentage for a Pro Tour level event by a massive amount, almost to like a full like 33%.
okay.
Like it's huge.
All right. So yeah, the top Oko Simic Food won the tournament. 6 of the decks of the top 8 were Oko variants, and all 6 of those decks were running 4 Okos, and there were 29 Once Upon a Times in the top 8, I believe is the number.
Yeah, which isn't the record, because I believe
I want to say Ponder.
Scrap Heap Scrounger
Oh.
still has the record for most copies in a Pro Tour top 8.
Okay, but
But Once Upon a Time is still the highest colored spell.
So I assume the Scrap Heap Scrounger got the high score then at 32, or
30, I think, or 31, something like that.
That's
Yeah,
still good.
It was there was
Yeah.
I think there
Or
was
bad.
one deck that was only playing 30. That was only playing 3.
does Wizards get a prize if they manage to get all 32? It's like we did it, guys.
I don't think that's the kind of prize you want to get though.
yeah,
No.
Yeah.
R&D all get flogged and fired, both of these things.
That's
I'm
what
sure.
that's what the Marvel bullpen used to call the no prize. Yeah, that's the,
Okay. So I watched a little bit of the Mythic Championship. I was tuning in to see how well Oko did. There was a window where we thought there might be some interesting decks. I don't think anything other than Oko made the top 4. At that is the point I kind of tuned out. I turned it off on my side screen and started playing Outer Worlds, and so I didn't watch much of it this time because Oko was everywhere. Did anyone watch much of it?
I watched a lot of the first and second day. I didn't watch a lot of the top 8 because I was busy. But they made a concerted effort at the beginning of the constructed rounds on day 1 to sample as many non-Oko matchups as they could. They had everyone's archetypes by their names on the pairings, and they featured as many decks as they could that didn't have Oko, and they were very explicit in the commentary. They said, yes, we understand this is the reality of the situation. The field is nearly 70% Oko decks. At some point, we're going to have to start showing you Oko matchups. We're going to do as much as we can to not. But in the meantime, enjoy these, and please, understand that we're working with limitations.
I suspect it became progressively harder to find
Right,
those matches
right.
as the tournament went on.
At a certain point, they had to show the matchups between
Right.
the players who were playing relevant games, and that just became Oko matchups.
Right.
It wasn't all Oko matchups, but you can only dodge it for so long.
Yeah.
Right.
Lily, Dave, did you guys watch any?
I did not. I had been following stuff about it, but I hadn't really watched a bunch of the tournament. I kind of knew, I've been playing the deck on Arena. I kind of know how the mirror matches tend to go, and I assume it's similar when you scale up both players' skill. So I kind of was just like, oh, well, that's how it's going to go. So I don't know. I don't know what I gained from watching this.
Not short games. I watched a little bit, and I read a fair amount on Reddit of apparently the games were, once you accepted we're living in Oko land, were fairly good to watch. Watching pros play interactive decks is interesting. Watching people who are better than you at Magic play Magic can be very interesting. And apparently the finals were a pretty good game for a mid-range mirror match. So it's just going to be...
Yeah, you had 2 teammates who had they talked about it afterwards. They had argued very strenuously about the makeups of their decks in terms of Strosky didn't have a full 4 copies of Wicked Wolf and 4 full copies of Nissa, and PV thought that was ridiculous, and they argued over it vehemently, and Strosky ended up winning, and they argued over sideboard strategy, and then Strosky very explicitly went against the sideboard strategy that they had decided on in one of the games to gain an advantage. And so there was a lot of play to that. And
is that a meta game when you are metagaming off your opponent knowing your sideboarding?
When you know the decks that well and you know your opponent that well, you have to do something to gain an edge. So yeah, it was just taking a gamble, and it paid off.
Okay.
One thing I do like when I guess the one silver lining of the metagame sort of solidifying to this degree is you really get that like people eking out every % of a conceivable advantage they could get against each other, and it becomes sometimes. So Magic is not chess, but sometimes Magic is more like chess than it's not.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be a nice break from a lot of how the game is sometimes.
Right, especially when we live in this world with the London Mulligan and decks with Once Upon a Time, where the games play out much more similarly from match to match than they used to. Where if you're willing to aggressively mulligan down to 5 cards or so, you're going to see a hand with Gilded Goose plus a 3 or a 4 drop or another ramp spell, something like 70% of the time. And so when you see the same starts over and over again, when you see the same hand makeups over and over again, that consistently the play enters into it a lot more. And one of the things I think Kai Buddha himself on Twitter said that as much as it is miserable to see such a lack of diversity in Standard, that the Oko matches were one of his favorite Standard mirror matches to play in a very long time. So, so that says a lot to how much of a skill tester it was.
I'd be interested to see with numbers-wise how, considering the London Mulligan and Once Upon a Time, if the consistency of the games is less or more consistent than the old Cobblade stuff during Zendikar Scars.
Someone on Reddit, so Reddit math, trust at your own peril, was trying to math out how often you got the turn 2 Oko in the deck. So you've got Once Upon a Time. If you don't know what Once Upon a Time is, guys, it's a 2-mana green instant for green and 1. If it's the first spell you've played in the game, it's free. And you get to look at the top 5 cards of your library and put a creature or reveal a creature or land and put it into your hand, and the rest go on the bottom in a random order. This was not a card that anyone has slept on at any point. We saw it. If you pay any attention to Magic, I saw this card and I went, well, that's probably way too good. Free cards are good. Card selection is good. The card would probably have been playable without the free part on it, at least in Standard. It's real good.
Yeah.
And so it really makes that deck consistent. So if you get a try, you're going for that goose, so you can get that turn 2 Oko. It happens a lot, and the numbers around were at least over 50%. Now, I think some people mentioned his math was a little fuzzy with how he was calculating some of this stuff, but if I had to guess about the consistency, I would say, I mean, Ponder, Preordain, and Fetch Lands is really good consistency that Cobb Blade had, but it's got to be close. It's got to be a lot.
Stoneforges to get the same.
Yeah, we don't have the kind of tutor that they did, but the card selection is nuts, and the London Mulligan, which that's probably its own topic, but it makes for more games, but it also probably makes for more consistent games. Dave, I'm sorry, you haven't said much. Did you watch it? Do you have thoughts? Where are you at?
I mean, I was watching. I was keeping an eye on coverage. I wasn't necessarily watching the videos themselves. As you know, in the group chat that we have, periodically I was posting like, "Oh, shit, 69 of the field's Oko decks. That's amazing." And then at least that glimmer of hope looking at it going, oh man, Andrew Cunha had a deck and it wasn't Oko related. And, oh, he didn't do, no, okay. I tried playing a little bit of it and just wasn't feeling the Selesnya Adventure deck. But I was keeping an eye on coverage, wasn't watching the matches themselves, more interested to see if there was some sort of breakout deck. It honestly does not look like there was.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I saw on Twitter. I follow a lot of the hardcore brewers like Josh Hutter Layton and Nassif and Zvi and things and people like that, and they were talking about they'd given up. I've tried everything, and there is just nothing that consistently can overcome the power of the 3 different pathways that this Oko deck can win the game, whether it be through Oko or through the Wicked Wolf Hydroid Crisis or through Nissa Ramp. They're so consistent, and each pathway is so powerful and so hard to beat. And if you beat one way, they've just got the other one waiting in the wings to take over the game. There's nothing else in Standard that's just anywhere near as powerful right now. I mean, the Fires deck is almost there, but it's missing the consistency.
The Fires deck, I'm really curious to see. So this show is going to come out Monday. I am almost positive Oko is getting banned on Monday. At least Oko. We might be a few other cards in addition, but odds are by the time you are watching this, Oko and probably somebody else has been banned. I'm very curious to see where things are going to roll after that, because I think you said, I think the Fires of Invention deck is real close to being real scary. I've been playing a version of that on Arena a lot, and free spells are powerful.
Yeah, it's what beat me at the PTQ that I played in last weekend. And I was playing Assault Typhoon, because I'm boring. And yeah, it's just you're casting 2 incredibly powerful spells every turn for the rest of the game, and once it gets from turn 4 onward, and it's got card draw, and it's got sweepers, and it's got ways to finish the game, and unless you have some way to disrupt their plan, it's hard to overcome that.
No, and I think I'm curious to see where the metagame shakes out. Before we move on to the next topic, so the ban's likely coming. I think I think the general consensus is Oko is going. Does anyone think he's staying?
Not at this point. I mean, whether or not he should or shouldn't be banned, I think it's very clear that he's going to be banned.
Right.
There's no way that WotC can look at their big tournament and say, well, 69% of the metagame, nice. weasel that in every time, every chance I get. But there's no way they can look at those numbers and go, "Yep, it's not a problem. We can totally let this continue happening." I mean, they have to take some stance, regardless of if it's right. They have to. It has to go. There's just no two ways about it.
And I think they knew that was a possibility. Like, and I think most people knew that was a possibility. Like, Bant Food was clearly the deck. Like, Bant Food was the deck that was just barely being held in check by the Field of the Dead deck. And Aaron Forsyth said something to the effect of, we didn't even consider a preemptive ban because people reacted so negatively when we did that with Reflector Mage previously. And the reactions to that were kind of mixed because the public perception wasn't really that it was a negative reaction so much as that it was one of confusion. But ultimately, I think people understood why Reflector Mage was banned before that deck had put up the results. But I think that they knew Oko was going to be the next deck. They designed Oko to be the most powerful card in Standard. They've admitted that. I just don't think they knew to the level that it was going to. But I think I'm willing to put as close to 100% a number as you can on Oko being banned. I also think we could see as many as 2 other green cards get banned.
What are we going to see?
I don't know which cards to put up there. I mean, like, Once Upon a Time's a strong candidate. Nissa's a strong candidate. I don't think you get Gilded Goose because it's.
I think it's the cornerstone of the food deck they want to leave behind.
Like, I think that you want to be able to, people still be able to play. Like, if you get Gilded Goose, then you destroy the food deck. Like, I think they still want people to be able to play Gilded Goose and Wicked Wolf in a green deck. But I think once Upon a Time in Nissa and maybe Hydroid Crisis, but that's pretty far out there.
Veil, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that if they were going to ban Hydroid Crisis, they would have done it by now.
Yeah.
The card's been around for almost a year at this point, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe less than, but I think at this point, if that card were too powerful for Standard, I think they would have taken care of it by now.
Yeah.
And if you do take Nissa, then Hydroid becomes less of a concern. And as we were seeing in the Pro Tour, a lot of people were using that Nissa mana, obviously on the Hydroid, but we were also some Gadwick the Wizens coming in from the sideboard for that huge mana boost, and as well as what's the X steals, the X steal your
mass manipulation.
Yeah.
So I feel like I think Nissa might be on that list because if with Oko gone, are those green-blue decks still too good with those ramp and those X spells? Well, if we pull Nissa out of there too, now...
Yeah, no, I think the X spells become totally reasonable once Nissa... Like, once people figured out that Nissa was better as the top of your curve instead of, like, the next step up, the Nissa decks became so much better from that point on.
But but Oko especially keeps anyone from establishing a proper board to threaten an expensive planeswalker when she comes down.
Right.
Like, I don't. So I think the 3 we're gonna see. I think we're gonna see Veil.
Veil of Summer. Okay.
I think we're gonna see Veil because, like, it was mentioned, I think before the show, it is good enough of a hate card that just by threat of existing, people aren't running the hate that it stops because it's such a blowout. Like, I think that's a really good sign that your hate card is way too strong.
No, I mean, the rest of the cycle is a 1-for-1, and Veil of Summer is a 2-for-1.
Right. Like, Thought Erasure has been one of the most prevalent cards in Standard since its printing, since Veil of Summer came out, or Summer's Veil, or whatever. Thought Erasure has completely disappeared from the format.
Because it's such a huge blowout.
Yeah. I mean, sorry.
So, go ahead.
But I mean, before we recorded this, I recorded a top 5, which may or may not be getting published beforehand. But as far as answers to Oko, I separated it from. So these are 3 really good answers to Oko if Veil of Summer didn't exist.
Right.
So the fact that I have to throw in that disclaimer probably tells us that that card might have been a bit too pushed.
I haven't seen it, but I'm guessing they're all black removal spells. Like, like you got
you've
got Murderous Rider,
Bedevil,
you have
Murderous Rider,
Elder
you
Spell,
have Duress.
Assassin's Trophy, like
you've got a Mystical Dispute. Like, in all honesty, from what I've seen so far, I had completely even forgotten that Assassin's Trophy is a card. Now, I don't know if necessarily that's because of just what I've been playing, or if that's because Veil of Summer is just a blowout on that card.
It is.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. Yeah, and as far as the top end ones, we still have answers for Oko that aren't black or blue cards, but then you're playing kind of not the greatest targeted removal. Like I think Prison Realm's fine, but it's also like really narrow. It's a more narrow Oblivion Ring. And I would rather play Oblivion Ring if I could.
I think they want the Elder Spell to be playable again, and Summer's Veil going away would do a lot to help that.
There's another card that I'm forgetting even existed in the first
Right.
place. Like double black, kill as many planeswalkers as you want, unless they have Summer Veil Summer.
Yeah.
Then they're gonna draw a card, and you're gonna go, oh. Well, joke's on you. I didn't have an ultimate on my planeswalker anyway.
Ugh, yeah. So okay. I feel like we could probably keep talking about this world. Does anyone have any final thoughts before we move on to the next one? Lily, you have something you want to say?
I think getting rid of Veil of Summer is going to make it like. I wonder if that card didn't exist, if the decks that should be able to deal with Oko or would actually be able to deal with Oko.
Maybe a little more consistently, but I still think it would be I still think it would be a huge portion of the metagame. It just wouldn't be. There would be more people willing to try other things instead of just giving in and joining the dark side.
Sure.
But I still think it would be like definitively the best deck.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't have as many people not willing to fight it.
Oh no! I mean, I've been playing that deck on Arena. When I lose, it's my fault.
Oh boy. Yeah, that's. Yeah. Okay. So I think we're good on final thoughts.
Yeah.
So we're gonna roll on to our next topic. But before we do, so we're going to take a quick pause here, and we're going to talk about Inked Gaming. If you're looking for a one-stop shop for gaming accessories, I suggest heading over to inkedgaming.com. Inked Gaming features both custom and store art playmats, dice bags, PC gaming, mouse pads, and tons more. Recently, Inked Gaming has added a stitched option on playmats and mouse pads to provide even more durability and uniqueness to your game. Play your game with your style. Inkedgaming.com. Be sure to click on the link below and use the code TCG University at checkout to support us and get a discount on your order. If you're going to do it, just use the code. It'll help you guys out. It'll help us out. We really appreciate it. If you're looking for another playmat, those custom art ones are fun. You can go do all sorts of wacky, interesting stuff, and that stitched option is actually super nice. I've got it on a couple playmats, and it makes them way more durable.
Yeah,
So,
I've used them for a handful of my playmats too. They're great.
yeah, so like we're doing the plug, but for real, we use this stuff. It is a good place to go. All right, and let's get back to the show. So we're going to roll into our next topic now, which is product fatigue. And I want to do a little spiel here before we launch into this. Is what made me want to talk about this is, so last week we talked about mystery boosters. We have more information about it. But the mystery booster set does not launch until next March. I believe March 14th. But
Well, they've already had those then at the Grand Prix, right?
the convention one is out now and is going to be at conventions between now and the end of 2020. So you can go play the convention version, but if you want to do the store version, you have got to wait till March. Which is surprising when I found that out, because we were expecting some kind of product in November. Normally they release some kind of product before the holidays, because we're kind of in a weird drought where Eldraine's been out for a while now. We aren't getting anything from Theros Beyond Death for at least till late December. So it's kind of a good spot to put a product out. They are putting out a
The gift bundles.
Yeah.
Yep, we just got those today. Although those are heavily allocated, so they're not going to be super available.
And because those have one of those.
They're basically exactly bundles. They have one collector booster added to them. They have a purple oversized spin down die that's like kind of shiny and satiny.
Okay.
And then they have the box itself has different art on the wraparound. That's the only difference from the regular Eldraine bundle.
Okay,
So those aren't going to be available at big boxes. Those are just going to be the mom and pop shops, right?
As far as I know, I mean, a few might trickle out. I don't know for sure. I don't know, but when I contacted my distributor, I pre-ordered like 40 of them because I wanted to have them available for Christmas, and they said that they took pre-orders for something like 9,000 or so, and when they finally got their numbers from WotC, they were given 1,100. to distribute. So we got 8 at our store, and we're not a small store.
We should talk after the show because
Yeah.
I want one of those. Like for real.
So yeah, if you're the gift bundle is in theory the holiday product this year, which it's a good product. It's better than the gift packs they put out in the past.
Yeah.
But it's probably going to be hard to find.
Just the collector booster in general, I know that feels like somewhat of a cash grab, but in all honesty, they look pretty cool. Like the stuff that's been getting released from those, what they've been releasing from it. You're kind of giving that look there.
I just really hate the phrase cash grab. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Working at a retail store, the phrase cash grab gives me like
Eric,
flashback trauma.
how dare you cash grab the money from my wallet to pay your rent and buy your food?
No, it's not. It's not that. I don't take it personally. It's just like. Yes, literally everything they do is to make money. I
think that the phrase itself isn't necessarily so much to, well, how dare a capitalist organization try and turn profit? I think it's more of one of those, like, really, they're releasing this too?
As a whale, we're Scheherazading. We're a podcast within a podcast now. That's what we call it. But as a whale,
we've entered the dungeon.
I really.
No, we got to get under the table for that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we do. We play R&D Secret Lair and Revelation.
Yeah, okay. The countdown is at 1.
Anyway, as a whale, I like collector's boosters. I bought like 6 of them. I have no regrets. I got a ton of awesome stuff. My Commander and Brawl decks got a bunch of cool extra stuff. They don't have anything you need to play. I'm a huge fan. I'm happy we have another option to get them. But this is okay. But this is bringing it back in. So this is gonna be a part of what we're going to talk about here with product of fatigue. So when I found out this was coming out in March, and then I looked at what comes next year. So next January, Theros is going to come out. Theros collector's boosters are going to come out. I don't think we're getting any supplemental Planeswalker decks or Brawl or Commander decks on that one. And then, so then in March we're going to get the mystery booster, and then a month later, Ikoria is going to come out, and when Ikoria comes out, it's going to be a full booster release. There are going to be there's going to be the collector boosters for those, and then there's going to be 5 commander decks, and so that's a lot of stuff. And I normally try to pick up most new stuff that comes out. I play a lot of different formats. I like getting new cards. I like those commander precons. I normally try to pick up a box. I like collector's boosters, so if I can, I want to pick up at least a few of those because those are really fun to open if you've got the money for them. And so that is a lot of stuff, and that is just the first quarter, I think. Maybe going into quarter 2 a little bit. And then outside of that, beyond that, we're going to have 2 more booster releases, a Commander supplementary, Commander, like, small box one for the staples. Then later on, we're going to have more Commander decks when Zendikar comes out.
Don't forget Unsanctioned.
Oh, Unsanctioned. Right. That's right. Another product that's coming out.
Don't forget Unsanctioned.
Are they releasing another unset?
Oh, it's not an unset. So on February 29th, because it's a leap year, on February 29th, they're releasing a box set that has every box set is going to contain the same set of cards. It contains like unglued and unhinged cards with new art, new treatments, foiling. They're gonna have like unstable cards with the alternate art. They're gonna have basic lands that they say are super duper cool because all the unbasic lands are super duper cool. So basically, they're going to be like you'll probably only need to buy one.
And it's 5 30-card decks of each color, and then the idea is you slap 2 together, and you've got a 60-card
They're like unwelcome decks.
Yeah, and they've got unwelcome decks.
That feels like a poor or excellent choice of words. I'm not sure yet. I'm gonna process that.
I will probably choose a different turn of phrase going forward.
But
yes.
And those.
You know what? I think I will actually spend the money for the Krypton banners, like for the unwelcome decks, and
I like that.
It's marvelous.
And so there's also a few new cards in that set, and Morrow has told us we are getting a legendary squirrel.
Yeah, legendary squirrel. So it's happening.
So that product's coming out. Yeah, that's February, and then at the end of next year, we're getting the giant Commanders draft set alongside 2 more Commander precons. We're getting 9 total Commander precons, our normal amount of sets. And several supplementary products, and it's possible they'll jam something else in there too. And so that doesn't sound like a huge problem in that I'm excited for all these things, as we talked about in the previous show with the Commander stuff. This is all exciting. This is a lot of money. This is a lot of time. And it's a lot of stuff to keep track of. And so one of the reasons I want to talk about this topic is because we've got Eric here today, and I wanted to kind of get that different angle for Eric sees the other side of stuff. He sees the allocations. He sees people come in or not come in when all these products come out. This last year, we've had a ton of stuff with Modern Horizons, the normal booster sets, the Brawl decks, the Japanese War of the Spark alternate arts, which were super cool. I spent a lot of money this last year, which isn't a problem. I like supporting my store. I like playing Magic, and it's a hobby. Hobbies cost money, but it's expensive, and also it's just a lot. It's a lot of cards to bring in. So I've talked a lot now. So let's get it going with somebody else.
So I guess the thing that I'm like trying to parse here. So actually, before I get into this, are we getting more Brawl decks with the sets that are coming out? Do we know?
There are not any Brawl decks announced with the upcoming sets.
Interesting.
They are doing different supplemental and for some of these the Planeswalker the Commander decks are actually going to be replacing the Planeswalker decks even. So they're trying out doing different like complementary products with each set, and not just doing the same, like each set's going to have these 2 Planeswalker decks and then this thing and the deck builder's toolkit and everything like that. So they're trying to change up the formula and find something that works. But since 2020 has clearly been established as the year of the Commander player, because they've identified correctly that Commander players spend way more money on their product than any other subset of players.
Can verify.
Probably combined. They've pivoted hardcore to trying to I'm not going to use the word pander because that's not the correct word. They've pivoted hardcore to trying to make as many products available to Commander players as possible next year. There's going to be some oversaturation. It's gonna get interesting.
And so really quick on the Brawl decks, yeah, so Gavin had several people have asked him. I actually asked him on Reddit. He didn't respond. We don't technically need any Brawl products because these ones will stay in state. We have these additional Brawl cards, which are nice for the format, like Arcane Signet's really nice. If in 2 years' time we get another one with whatever the fall set after Zendikar, that's all we would need. So hopefully we get those, Wizards. I know you watch the show. We definitely know you all gather around, so please more Brawl.
Okay, so the Brawl thing was kind of in service of another question. So why do you consider the collector's boosters and the Commander decks that are launched with the set that they're probably going to be thematically tied to?
They are. They've said that.
Why are you considering those separate products? Because in my head, those seem like you have product, and then in like the umbrella under the product, there's like this product's Commander decks, this product's collector's boosters, this product's I don't know.
The reason I do at least is my as Eric knows my standard. As the day that pre-orders go on, I call him up. I pre-order a box because I like the buy a box promos. I sign up for the pre-release, and then normally that's where I'd be at. With the new one now, we're kind of now with his last one we've had like collector's booster, so that's another thing. So it's more stuff I've got to get, which I like. I like the collector's boosters. Like I'm saying, I'm annoyed that I get cool new arts and more stuff. But it's more stuff. It's if I want to get a box so I can have my cards for Commander, and I want to get all the Commander decks so I don't miss out.
Right.
Yeah.
So definitely fear of missing out is what it seems like.
I think there's a little. Yeah, I think FOMO is part. Well, I'm not going to let myself miss out. So my fear is it's taking a lot more. It takes more energy, time, and money for me to stay engaged with all the products that I want.
Okay, so this reminds me a lot of there was a phase of World of Warcraft where during Mists of Pandaria, where they had a lot of different things that they're like, hey guys, you can do this, and there were different progressions paths for players to do that were all pretty lucrative, and even as the game iterated past that, they kind of hung on to this, and there was very much this feel from their players that the players had to do all of the things to stay relevant or stay competitive or all that. And like, I get that mindset. That mindset makes a ton of sense to me. But at the end of the day, this feels to me like they're releasing different products for different kinds of players, and not really. And as a company, I think they're like, well, if they buy them all, that's great, because I mean, people will.
But I will. I straight up will.
I wonder if the intent isn't just, well, let's create a couple different products for a couple different kinds of players, and to make sure everyone feels like they have something that's aimed at them.
Okay.
That is absolutely correct. That was going to be one of the main things I talked about in regards to this. A lot of Magic players, especially ones who have been playing for more than a few years, are used to buying every product that comes out, with maybe just one or two exceptions every year, because every product that comes out is usually designed to be playable in a tournament scenario or be necessary in a tournament scenario. They are moving more towards a system where not every product is for everybody, and some players are having trouble adjusting to that. So I've been no, it's fine. I've been working really hard to try and make sure that the right products go to the right people, and which also means that a lot of stores have had some growing pains as they adjust to maybe not ordering as much of certain things as they used to, because the people who used to buy that are buying something else now, and so a lot of it can end up sitting on the shelves. And so there are ways to combat this glut of products, this seemingly overwhelming array of products. It's just there's gonna be an adjustment period for sure.
And Dave, I think we're kind of on opposite ends of the spectrum as players, as I think I've said before, just with the formats we play and how we. So like, how do you feel about all these products? Because I'm obviously I feel like I've got to get everything, and it feels overwhelming.
It really won't enter into it too much unless there is some sort of breakout card that's played in an eternal format, like Legacy. If we end up with something along the lines of Toxic Deluge or with True Name Nemesis, or any number of the cards that they've printed in these supplementary products that have been very, very good for Legacy, but initially intended for Commander players. Unless there are going to be a decent amount of those, then I don't think it's going to have a whole lot of effect on what I've been doing. I guess the question is going to be, how do they want to release these products on a digital platform? How are they going to get released on Magic Online? Are they going to have some sort of weird supplementary set where you're going to be able to draft it and there's going to be some amount of hype for it for 2 weeks and then everybody forgets about it? Or are they going to release it as like player rewards cards that you get for playing in events, spending money for ticks, things like that?
Yeah, I assume on Magic Online they'll probably do like the Commander decks. I bet you'll be able to just buy outright.
Yeah, they've done that before.
And I imagine a lot of the cards will be available in treasure chests fairly quickly as well.
That seems like the most elegant solution to that problem, unless they decide, well, let's go ahead and put all these cards in a set and have people draft it, and the draft set's just completely incoherent and not fun at all.
They've moved away from that for the most part.
Thankfully,
I think. No more Tempest remastered or anything like that.
Wow. Oddly enough, I believe that they've had some of the Masters Edition sets on Magic Online, and I don't know if you like bashing your head against the wall.
Yeah,
do I have a set for you?
I drafted one, and I ended up drafting like 60 ticks worth of stuff, and then dropping from the tournament because my deck was a hot pile. But
that's the dirty secret. Everyone's deck is a hot pile. Yeah. I don't remember which Masters Edition it was, but one of them has cards with banding, and I gotta tell you, if you know how banding works and they don't, you're gonna that vanilla hero is going to
at a
do
huge
so
advantage.
much.
Oh yeah.
We'd explain what banding does, but we aren't allowed to post YouTube videos that long.
Right.
So we'll
do that
in a 10-part series.
Yeah, we'll do that in a later video where I will build a deck with banding and play against Brett, and then just periodically say no, see you misplayed again because of this part of how banding works.
Banding's broken. That's all you really.
Not that it's overpowered. It's just a broken ability. It does not work the way that anyone wants it to.
So the vibe I'm kind of getting here is no one else seems to be as concerned concerned but me.
I mean, they showed us kind of what to expect with the Brawl precons, and so I'm less concerned about that. Like the Brawl precons did a pretty good job of saying, all right, well, these are a set of standard legal cards. They're not available in booster packs. I assume they'll probably continue doing the ancillary slot and the collector's boosters, since they are going to keep doing collector's boosters for these sets, they said. So those cards will still be available not only in non-foil formats, but also to a slightly larger extent than just from the pre-constructed decks. So even if the card ends up seeing like some amount of play, like Corvold or the John Dragon.
Yeah.
He's seeing some amount of play in one of the sacrifice decks in standard, but his price is staying fairly stable because the card's not that hard to find, even though we haven't seen Brawl decks in what it's been like a month and a half now. Because the collector's boosters put enough copies out there, and the initial run of Brawl decks put enough copies out there that they are available to the players who need them. And so unless something really took off and became like,
well, you mean like banning a Mythic Planeswalker that's probably being overly oppressive on that card?
I mean, yeah, but even then, like the deck's not gonna like it would have to be a 4-of in a top tier deck for it to be a real problem, and even then they could. There are solutions to that problem. So, I'm cautiously optimistic. Like they've proven in the past that they know how to deliberately underpower these cards and supplementary products so as to not make them too problematic. With one or two exceptions, but even those were, not as big of a problem, in my opinion, as some people made them out to be.
Lily, did you have
I
something?
agree with that pretty decidedly. It's I think a lot of the new cards that we got in the Brawl decks are a very strong indication that they are not afraid to design cards for the format of the product that they're making for. I feel like with the initial couple of runs of the Commander decks, like years, was it 2013,
I believe, was the first
there
one.
we go. Yeah, and I think the first few, we definitely got cards that were like, let's just design this so that everyone wants it, right? And we got True Name Nemesis, and we got...
We got the Strix.
Right.
We got...
Toxic Deluge.
Wasn't that Shardless Agent?
Shardless Agent.
Right.
Shardless
Agent
was... They just played really nice.
Oh, yeah.
Shardless Agent was Plane Chase, I believe, but yeah.
So we got these things, and in the Brawl deck, like you were saying, Corvold seeing some play, but like all these other cards are like either referring to something in the particular format was printed for, or not good against one opponent, or like marginal against one opponent. I mean,
right? They can keep
Right.
printing versions that are like they cost 1 mana more. They're better if you have multiple opponents, and that'll work. That formula will work forever.
Yeah, and I'm glad they found that this is really good if you have multiple opponents, because that's the easiest way to make a card go, okay, this land's not seeing legacy play, but Commander players, you want this bad.
We can overcost it by 1 mana, and that'll keep it from seeing plain standard, and then
and punish people for playing 5-player games.
All right. So we're going to keep moving on. Does anyone have any final thoughts we want to throw out about product fatigue? Anything more?
Not that we haven't already said.
Okay. All right. So I can take a deep breath and maybe only buy what I want.
Right. You're not obligated. Like you're not gonna miss out.
Well, I will, but honestly, what I did last year is I took some of the modern cards in my collection because I don't play modern, and I traded and I sold some of them, and I used that to buy more Modern Horizons, which I wanted, and I bought an extra box of the Japanese War of the Spark. So I just kind of adapted that. So if you're a crazy whale like me and you need to have everything, well, you can turn your Magic cards into other Magic cards. That's one of the benefits of the game.
But then aren't you missing out on the old Magic cards?
I don't play Modern. That's a format for good players.
You do play Commander.
Let's pump the brakes. I play Modern.
But everything you get becomes something you have, and then you have it, and then you need to get something new.
I mean, don't get me wrong.
All right, that tracks. Yeah. Okay.
Alrighty.
Eric has a vested interest in promoting this.
Eric really wants me to keep buying stuff, which I understand, and I like buying stuff from Eric.
I'm also. You also need to be aware of diminishing returns. Like that's something.
But that's from alliances, right? Isn't that reserve list? I don't think they can reprint that, Eric.
Oh boy, we're going deep on this one tonight, team. All of the people who are like, "What's this Magic game?" They're gonna really get all these obscure car
I've let
references.
JC down. She had requested that I make a point of making this accessible and representing one of the roles that she has. And I have failed.
This is Magic the Gathering Study Hall 2.0, I guess, or class number 202, I guess.
Yeah, that's like grad school
not
study
introductory.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say grad school necessarily.
We're 301.
200
MTG
level?
Study Hall
301?
301. That sounds right. Okay. We're gonna keep
Sure,
moving.
okay.
Metaphor breaks
Tangle
down.
Angler.
Tangle Angler. So, side note, game that we used to play back when we went to Grand Prix and PTQs. We'd play 20 questions, and half of the time the answer was Tangle Angler. So we would periodically start with just burning a question, is it Tangle Angler? To which, again, half of the time the person whose turn it was would just go, fuck. And then you'd have to play another card. Yeah, it was some good fun. Thank you for reminding me of the good old days, as it were.
All right.
Questions
What's our
with
last
Magic
topic,
cards sounds
Brett?
fun.
Last topic is Pioneer. So, Pioneer stuff happened. Eric, do you want to tell us what happened?
Do I want to tell you what happened? Lots of cards. Some cards were banned, and then the deck stayed good, and then they banned some more cards.
So we covered the first ban last week.
Uh-huh.
So they ideally, if they're caught up with all of the MTG Study Hall lore that we've established, they should know about that.
So they banned Summer's Veil, which caught a lot of
Veil
people
of
off
Summer.
guard. I'm pretty sure it's Summer's Veil.
Tam, can you pull this up?
I believe it's I
'Cause
think he actually already has a tab for it.
This is exciting because
It is Veil of Summer.
okay, Veil of Summer.
I mean,
What you're saying means the exact same thing.
But it is a different unique
I'm
name
sorry,
that
I'm
they
sorry.
can use later
I'm sorry,
for
no, I'm
another
sorry.
version of the
I'm-
same
I'm
card.
It's still a veil that is owned by Summer.
I think I'm confused because
But-
the previous version was Autumn's Veil.
Oh yeah.
The previous version was Autumn's Veil, and then they changed it to Veil of Summer. That's why I'm getting confused.
It's a different season. It's not really the
Yep,
True.
Yep. That's
They
that's
are,
my bad.
They are leaving us open still for
So anyway.
Spring's Veil and Winter's Veil. Is Winter's Veil a thing? I feel like that's a thing.
Probably. Anyway, so the banned Veil of Summer, which caught a lot of people off guard. But I think the prevailing attitude there is that they examined the data from the Pioneer Leagues and saw that nobody was playing counterspells and very few people were playing Thoughtseizes. I mean, some people were playing Thoughtseizes because Jund players are stubborn, but the decision was that Veil of Summer was just so powerful that people were just abandoning these strategies completely in order to avoid getting blown out by the 1-mana cryptic command, so to speak. And so the hope is that getting rid of this super powerful sideboard card will enable more mid-range and control strategies to kind of mellow out the metagame and maybe put some pressure on these combo decks and these aggro decks that are running rampant right now. So they're taking a pretty cautious approach to the format where they said they were going to be very aggressively banning things. This is a pretty aggressive ban, but it's a very interesting angle they're taking. And I'm curious to see how it shakes out.
It's the first time I believe that like a specific hate card has been banned out of a format. I'm trying to think of any more sideboard cards.
Well, in all honesty, at this point, can we still call it a sideboard
Yeah,
card if people
I mean,
are playing it in the main deck?
it is a sideboard card.
It's semantics.
it was
but
supposed to be.
Its
Yeah.
intent was clearly, well, this will be a good thing to bring in against opponents that are playing a bunch of black removal spells. And I'm sure that they didn't quite realize, I mean, a lot of the older formats are almost guaranteed that someone's opening play is going to be turn 1 Black Source Thoughtseizes you.
Right.
And this blows them out.
Because it's seeing like Rug Delver playing Legacy, right?
Oh, it's seeing play in every format. It's seeing play in Vintage, Legacy, Modern, Pioneer.
If I still played a lot of Legacy and I played combo in Legacy, I would splash green for this card.
Right. It's not a super creative nickname, but I've taken to calling it Green Elemental Blast.
I actually mentioned that last week because I like it so much.
Green Elemental Blast, Green Cryptic Command,
Yeah.
Green Dismiss. Is
Yeah.
it Dismiss that's the draw card counter?
Yeah, counter draw. Yep.
Which is way better at 1 mana.
Yeah, and in green.
The fact they color shifted made me a bit sad, but what are you going to do?
It was kind of funny to watch on Twitter. A lot of people came out to express their displeasure with the Veil of Summer ban. And it kind of blew my mind how many people were willing to very loudly express that they did not understand how powerful the words "draw a card" were on a Magic card. It's
Easily the best words on a card. A close second is win the game.
Yes, I would much rather draw a card than win the game. Honestly.
Because if you draw
Not
the
close.
Absolutely. If you draw enough cards, you're gonna win.
Yeah,
the
you're
game.
gonna win the game, exactly.
And you had more fun in the process.
That-
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's Magic is a zero-sum game. The more fun I'm having, the less they can have.
And
It's just
I think the point when every player hits that time in their Magic playing career when they go, oh wow, I just really, really, really want to draw more cards.
Yeah.
Like how do we do that? Because it's a fun thing to do because then you get to draw all your other fun cards
But
that probably say draw a card.
Yeah. So besides the ban in Pioneer, we have been running weekly Pioneer tournaments at the shop. We've gotten like 10 to 15 players every week, and it's been a massive variety of decks. I think there's been no more than like 2 or 3 duplicates any of the weeks, and people are playing homebrews, people are playing all kinds of different things. So obviously in a local tournament, you're not going to see the same overrepresentation of the most powerful decks as you see on the online like our first Pioneer tournament was won by somebody playing their green white tokens homebrew. There was Mono Black Devotion. There was there was Eldrazi decks. There was ramp decks. There was all kinds of fun stuff. I believe yesterday's tournament came down to like blue white control versus mono red aggro, like classic
Yeah.
That could be the finals of pretty much any standard tournament that I've seen in a while, aside from the most recent one.
A classic clash of archetypes, So I'm really excited to see how Pioneer shakes out. I love untested formats. I've loved Modern since the day it was formed, and even though it's had its struggles in recent years, I still love it. But
Well, a nice thing about the format is you can go back if you've been playing for most of the time that the sets are covering. You can go back and go like, oh, I remember that deck, or oh, I love playing with this card, and have a decent chance to be able to put something reasonable together, which is a really nice place to be.
Right. There are very few playable standard archetypes from the last 6 years that are outright negated by the presence of other cards in the format. You can almost always take it and make it work some way or another. Like for example, the one I was brewing earlier today, I was working on a God Pharaoh's Gift deck, which is really powerful when you combine it with like Explore and things like that. And then in standard, God Pharaoh's Gift used the Combat Celebrant to kind of combo off and take extra combat steps. You also have Aurelia the War Leader from Return to Ravnica block that lets you also take extra combat steps.
I think there was a blue-white list that I was seeing that was playing Aurelia as a 4 is the only not blue-white card.
Yeah.
And it seemed
cool.
kind of cool as soon as I started crunching the numbers on that and went, oh, that does have those words on it.
Yeah. So there's just I don't know that deck can, again, I don't know that deck can beat a Resolve Scavenging Ooze, but presumably eventually they're going to take another step towards the against green and see what happens.
So what do you think we can expect for Monday? Do you have any predictions as far as what you think should be banned or will be banned?
I think they're going to be very closely paying attention to the results of the SCG Con Invitational this weekend. I think that from what I've seen, a lot of the high-profile players are scrambling to get together pieces of the mono green Devotion deck.
Still,
yeah. Oh, yes. So even after they banned Oath of Nissa and the Leyline, just a few days after that ban went into effect, Todd Anderson played an updated version on the Magic Online PTQ with those cards removed and different cards slotted in, and went 9-0 through Swiss. Just barely lost in the top 8.
Okay.
So the deck is still super powerful.
To be fair, Todd Anderson is definitely a good player.
Yeah, but people have been 5-0ing with his list in leagues all week since. Like it's like the deck is the real deal.
Okay.
And it's going to be a very popular choice this weekend. And
so to recap, then we have a mono green Devotion deck that has had 3 cards banned from it, and it is still putting up the numbers.
Honestly, I think that Veil of Summer ban probably hurt the Nexus of Fate Wilderness Reclamation deck more than it hurt the mono green Devotion deck. Like that deck really needed that ability to protect and resolve your Nexus of Fate for it to go off, and mono green Devotion can just jam another spell.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fair. Most of their parts are redundant and interchangeable. And so then, do you think that it would be a fair assessment to assume that Nykthos might be on the chopping block soon?
I think they really wanted to avoid that, and I think they may still try to avoid that because Nykthos can do so many different things, because there's 5 different colors of Devotion that people are going to want to play Nykthos with. Like mono blue Devotion is still a thing people are trying. Mono black Devotion with Whip is still a thing people are trying. There's mono red Devotion with
big mono red with whatever the red god was.
Yeah,
Furfurose.
Yeah,
Perf Daddy.
Yeah, and
You can't call him that.
I can.
that
can and
the
will.
rating on this show?
Yeah, and that Minotaur that dealt damage equal to the number of red mana symbols when it entered the battlefield.
Boros Reckoner.
Yeah.
The
Boros Reckoner, and then
I reckon that's a card I hadn't thought about in a while.
Burning Tree Emissary and all that fun stuff. And I think mono white was really the only deck that didn't really ever have a Devotion thing. But there's enough stuff from like Dominarian forward that you could probably put together a mono white Devotion deck too.
I think that you could probably have some sort of Enchantment Prison deck that's mono white, and like Heliod as a finisher. But whether or not that's going to be good enough against,
So I think they'll probably try to ban one or two other cards before they finally give Nykthos the axe, because it's one of those linchpin cards in the format that is an entire archetype unto itself that branches off in so many different ways. I could be wrong. They might just go for the head. I don't know, but
before we wrap up, really, Lily, do you have some thoughts?
So one with Nykthos, I feel like that's one of the ones that, like, if they're gonna, that they might want to reprint.
I think that there's some people that are expecting we might be seeing
Right.
that in Theros Beyond Death, which would be cool because that's a really popular card.
But kind of that was an aside. The thing I actually wanted to talk about with Pioneer especially was like the ban cycle, the cycle, if you want to call it that.
The
'Cause it's
weekly
every
Monday
week.
bans.
And I wonder how that is, what effect that is having on the development of the metagame of the format. Like, not just in a, like, they can react quickly, but at the same time, I think, like, there seems to be, from a lot of the other folks producing content that I've been following, there seems to be this hesitation to really, like, dig in and I'm concerned about that, but also making decisions without, like, weeks and weeks of data, too.
I think this early on, like, the problematic cards are going to present themselves pretty obviously, pretty glaringly.
Okay.
And the fact that they only banned one card this week lets me know that they're still being fairly cautious about it. Like, just because they're willing to be aggressive about it doesn't mean that they're going to be unnecessarily aggressive about it. The Veil of Summer ban means that they're like, hey, we want the format to sort itself out. We think that this is the card that's preventing the format from sorting itself out. So while I agree with you that they don't have a ton of data, they still do have. I mean, people are playing. The leagues have somewhere in the neighborhood of between 1,000 and 2,000 players in them. So the games are firing fairly quickly. They do have a lot of data to work with, and I think that we'll see fairly measured reactions regarding that.
Personally, I'm kind of in the waiting camp because I have a lot of these cards. I don't want to settle on a deck just yet, but I'm excited to pay attention to it, and I think in a few months when we shift out of this current ban cycle, that's when I'm going to figure out what I'm going to play. So I think we have an amount of players in that area, but I think we clearly have enough interest that, oh no, it's going to die out. That does not appear to be the case. Heck, they told us this week that they're going to be working to get it into Arena. It's going to take some time, but I am thrilled to hear that. So, like, we're going to have Pioneer and Arena down the road, which is really exciting.
One day.
But they're going to be working on it. They said they're going to start doing remaster sets, which is likely going to get us towards that.
Maybe, if they don't get distracted and work on something else.
I mean, yeah, it's the Arena team, and they don't talk to the paper team well. Like, they're still figuring out what they're doing. But I'm excited about it.
I mean, what's the ETA on Historic, I guess?
Well, we got a Historic announcement. We're running low on time. We'll probably try to talk about Historic soon because we got some deets and we got some new cards coming out. So there we go. That's going to be a tease for next week. You'll have to tune in and listen to us talk about Historic again. Does anyone have any final thoughts before we wrap up?
No.
Okay. All right. I think we covered our bases. So hopefully, you beautiful future people, you live in a world free of Oko. Because it's our last opportunity, we've hidden an amount of elks around the set. And if you can go ahead and tell us how many elks you see, you don't win a prize. We don't have prizes yet, but you'll win my congratulations. So I want you to post in the comments how many elks we've hidden throughout the set.
Well, I mean, I think Eric Peters already let us know what the prize is going to be.
Well, I didn't.
It's going to be a patented Eric Peters no prize.
It's the no prize.
Yeah,
you get the no prize.
You get the no prize. He'll send it to you.
It's a
and all
3/3
that.
elk.
So okay, we're gonna wrap up now. Everybody, thanks so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Like, subscribe, comment, any of those things. Let people know about the show. We appreciate it. That's how we got to keep doing this.
Get that bell on.
Hit that bell. I want you to slam that subscribe button so hard. I want you to break your mouse doing that. That's how bad.
Don't
I am.
actually break your
break your
mouse.
mouse.
Or do. I'm not your boss.
He doesn't speak for us.
I speak for no one, not even myself. Okay, thanks so much for tuning in, guys. We've had a blast. We hope you have too. Thanks so much. Have a safe week out there, and remember who you are. Thank you very much.